good.
Hi there, and welcome back to my channel. I'm really excited to be introducing this lady to you. Her name is Tanya Grant. She is an award-winning diversity and inclusion champion. Just checking my notes here. A brand specialist and best-selling, multiple times best-selling co-author. She's also a speaker, and she's a founder of the TNG Designs Group Limited. A very, very special lady, Tanya Grant. Welcome.
Hello. Hi, hi, hi. I'm excited for this. It's very,
I'm
very good.
so excited. Now, what I didn't mention in your introduction there is that you worked with the Arcadia Group, which is the umbrella group for Topshop, Topman, Burton, Dorothy Perkins.
Yeah.
This was when you were doing contracting work, or was it when
Yeah,
you
like
were in?
freelancing. A lot of
Mm.
freelancing. Absolutely. And unfortunately, they're not around anymore. However, Topshop and Topman are still the brands that's still around and so forth, but obviously under different names as things happen and do.
Yeah,
But yeah, they were a huge, huge company that literally housed a lot of retail brands. And just having
massive.
worked
They
with
were
them,
all over on
yeah,
every high street. Yeah,
yeah,
and not just high streets, but smaller towns.
yes,
Um,
yeah, yeah, yeah,
every big shopping mall there
yeah.
they were
They were
all around the UK.
international. Yeah.
Internet, well, exactly, yeah, absolutely. And you've also worked with lots of other businesses as well, so equine businesses, beauty, entertainment, media, lots of fantastic experience. And Tanya's helped me as well with my branding. So yeah, we're
Yes.
in good hands. So before before we talk a bit more about what you've done, let's talk about branding. So what is branding and why is it important for singers?
Oh my God. It is, I say it's important for everybody, especially singers, because there's a lot of singers, there's a lot of musicians, there's a lot of people out there doing something similar to you. So now you need something that helps you to just stand out and step out apart from, everybody else, right? It helps you to show up differently. So branding is essentially all the different little intricacies that make you you and help you to understand the vision, the purpose, and the values as to why you do what you do, right? And I love to always like use this analogy, Carrie. I know I've probably used it in front of you loads of times, but think of it as like imagine yourself as being this big entity, this building, right? It could be your singing, it could be you as a musician, or whatever, however you see yourself. That's your big entity, that's your building. Then you've got this really super cool door that invites people to want to find out even more about you. So that's your logo. That's your logo, not your brand. Your logo is not your brand. Please,
The
please,
logo is
please
not your brand.
remember that.
It's a logo. It's a part of your brand.
It's a part of your brand, exactly that. And essentially the same for your website, essentially the same for your flyers, your posters, your roller banners, whatever you're using in gigs, your devices to be
Merchandise.
able to market to other people. That's not your brand. It's elements of your brand, but it is not your brand. Branding is all the things that you start seeing when you open that door and enter into this building, all the intricacies that make you you, your personality, that really soft, cozy blanket that's yours, the all the little intricacies that are hanging on the walls in your room, whatever that is, that's your brand. It's your personality, it's what you're known for, especially. It's the message that you have constantly that you're putting out there, either in your songs, in your music that you're writing, however it may be. It's that consistent message that flows throughout all of what you do and how you're being perceived. That's what branding is. So just know
Love
that
that.
logo separate from branding,
Yeah, yeah.
however they go hand in hand. But yeah.
I love that analogy. So it's a bit like I talked about this before. It's a bit like the difference between a Premier Inn and a Hilton,
Yes.
without, definitely not trying to put anyone down, but it is a difference.
Yeah.
Premier Inn, they've got a purple color with a moon, and and they are known as somewhat budget, but high street. Let's say we could say high street, and then Hilton is your high end. Just by mentioning those two names, you know that they're not the same, and they're not going to be they're not going to be confused one for the
Yeah.
other.
Yeah. So
Yeah.
true. So very true. So very true. Mm.
So so now that we know what branding is, tell us about how you help people, how you help
Mm.
yeah, the people that you've worked with. So either
Yeah.
individuals
Mhm.
or companies.
Yeah. So it's funny. So I work with both, but predominantly it's a lot of service-based businesses, small to medium businesses, and essentially some of them are coaches, and some of them, as Carrie shared before, are literally in the beauty space, or they're in the equine industry, or in the music space as well. So having dealt with so many different fields or areas of interest, in fact, it's been super cool being able to do so. But essentially, with all of those people that I help them to understand and discover that they are more than what they see. And here's what I mean by that. What I mean by that is helping them to understand that, you know what, sometimes we always lead with this surface value level of thing. So for me, back in the day, I used to just see myself as a graphic designer, and there's nothing wrong with that. However, graphic designing is the tool of what I do. A lot of us out here are leading with the tool of what we do.
Mm.
However, there's something a hell of a lot more that you do, and it's not being addressed. And I help you to realize and understand what that actually is. Because when you find that little sweet spot, I call it like the golden area. When you find that, you get to establish how you can start speaking to the people that you're supposed to be speaking to. Not just any average old Joe. No, no, no. You're speaking to a specific audience. And especially as a singer, as a musician, you are speaking to specific people, right? These people who need to hear your words, who need to feel your music, you're speaking to specifically them. And that all comes from the idea of what you discovered, that you are more than what you see. And essentially your values, your vision and your purpose. I call it the brand power of three, right? That's the little sweet spot that you need to be able to just boost and get yourself out there to start showing up as the person that you should be showing up as, rather than, trying to hide behind the mask of somebody else. So yeah.
Love that. So what I really love about seeing branding in music is, remember when the Spice Girls came out in the 90s?
Yeah, yeah,
Yeah,
yeah.
that was so powerful. And
Yes.
those of you who weren't there or don't know who the Spice Girls are, or just have, only know a little bit about them. In the early night in the 80s, we had, I mean, me and Tan were still young in the 80s, to be fair.
Yes.
In the 80s,
Yeah.
we we had a lot of a rock power ballads. It was very guitar based, very loud,
Glam
and
rock, that
even
kind of a thing.
yeah, glam
Mm,
rock from the 70s. And we
mm,
had new
mm,
wave. We had the hangover from punk, and it was very very energetic, very loud, guitar based, as I said. Um, just loud, right? In the charts, right? And then there was
mm.
some underground stuff going on as well, which we were too young to be involved in,
Yeah.
I'm happy to say. And then in the early 90s, we had grunge. So we had Nirvana, which is still one of my very, very favorite bands. We still had rock, we still had heavy rock. Heavy metal had become really big in the 80s. And the the charts were dominated by this very loud, very male dominated, although they were very pretty, but very male dominated, quite misogynistic. There were girls in, hardly any clothes, writhing around on in trucks and over trucks and that kind of stuff. It was, and then the Spice Girls came along,
Mm,
and on the surface, so going back to what you were saying about surface level, on the surface they were just poppy and might have looked a bit ditzy,
mm.
and were not necessarily glamorous, but just very pop and Barbie like, we could say. But under the surface, they had this very, very strong message of girl power, female empowerment, and they all had individual
Characters.
personalities that young girls could tap into. Some young boys as well, but young girls could tap into. So, for example, I was like 19, 20 when the Spice Girls came out. And I was like, Scary Spice. And I was like, well, actually, I prefer Ginger at the moment, but I moved into Scary Spice.
Yeah.
So, but
Yeah.
everyone had their person that they could connect with, if you liked
Hmm.
Spice Girls. And it was so powerful and exactly what we needed. There
Mm.
was nothing else like it. It's probably since Madonna in the early 80s.
Yeah, I think so. And like you shared that, like somebody could relate to somebody in that group, somebody had a little character to be like, oh yeah, I think that's a little bit of me, yeah, yeah, I so see that, and it brings me nicely onto the idea of why how representation really, really helps, right? And that's another aspect that I always help my clients to understand that, sometimes, not sometimes, all the time, doing what we're doing, especially in business, especially as musicians, especially as singers, songwriters, somebody is seeing you as an example of a way forward, right? The Spice Girls were an example of a way forward. So being able to see them for the for all those who they attracted, younger girls, all that kind of stuff, people looking up to them, they saw them as that way forward, meaning that they could also do it.
Yeah.
They also have a voice. They could also be heard. They could maybe even be a performer as well. But and not enough people are taking that into consideration, because the minute you start taking that into consideration is the minute you start standing all the more taller. You're making sure that your message is getting heard, your songs are getting heard, your music is getting out there to all the spaces that it should be getting out there in, right? And the minute people get to understand the idea of why representation matters, everybody represents something and somebody as that way forward. So now, yeah, show up a little bit more. And you as the musician or the singer or the whoever you may be in that space, you're probably thinking, yeah, but it's just me, isn't it? I just want to just do my music.
Yeah.
What have I got to show or anybody? But no,
Yeah.
you've got a hell of a lot to show. So people need to see that. People need to be able to experience you, to be able to understand that what you're doing is aspirational and what you're doing is possible. Because so many people are out there unfortunately feeling stuck in their ways. They can't see a way forward. Or maybe they just need an alternative, right? And you're showing that way.
100%. Yeah.
Yeah.
Not all black female singers sing like Rihanna, right?
Right, that part.
I'm glad you brought that up, because something that I come across, I've been in music for 25 years at the time of
Mm,
making the video in the summer of 2024. And something that I've come across many, many times, either as a performer talking to other performers or as a voice coach or music lecturer talking to my students, is
mm.
they say, well, my music is for everyone. What would you say to that?
No, it's not.
Thank you.
No,
Not
it's
just from
not.
me, right? No, it's not. No.
It's really not. And but that's guess what? That's okay.
Yeah. Music
Music.
as
Yeah,
a whole is for everyone,
yeah,
but your specific music isn't. And it's very, very important to understand that. And it's okay that that's the case. And we want that to be the case, because you
yes.
want to build a loyal following, not just have people dip in and out
No,
every now
yeah,
and then.
yeah. Because it's okay being uniquely you.
Yeah.
It's okay to have your own message. And yes, there are so many people out there who will resonate with that message. Those are the people that you need to be targeting. Those are the people who are going to be hearing you naturally, right? And yeah, for anybody who's thinking my music is for everybody, no, it's not, but it's okay that it's not.
Yeah.
You
Yeah.
know, not everybody is into rock, not everybody's into R&B, not everybody's into hip hop, not everybody's into whatever other genre of music there is out there. And that's okay because it's not
Yeah.
for them, but there is something else out there for them, right?
Exactly. And it's not just about genres either, is it? It's about your message. So there are rock band. I'm going to go back to rock because that's
Yeah,
my kind of
yeah,
main thing. But there are Christian rock bands.
yeah,
I don't listen to them, but I know that they're there, and I appreciate that they're there, and I respect what they do just as much as all of the punk bands that I love. I'm
yeah,
sure there are some Christian punk bands. I've not heard of any, but I'm sure
yeah.
there are. So it's
Mhm.
not just about the genre, it's about what else is going on. It's about, what style is it? Is it acoustic? Is it This is more going into stylistics of music, but it does make a difference. Are you a hip hop artist who is more conscious, like it used to be back in the day? Are you a country singer who wants to be a bit more raw and edgy? Like,
Mm.
funnily enough, Shania Twain was when she came out. There
Yeah,
weren't people like with their midriffs out and,
yeah.
wearing leopard print, apart from probably Dolly Parton, although she was always covered. But, I'm
Come on,
going on a
Dolly.
tangent, as I
Yeah.
always, good old Dolly. um, but also, So Eminem's new album's just dropped, right, at the time of
Yeah.
making, at the time of recording right now,
Mm,
and it's called The Death of Slim Shady,
mm,
and uh, it just reminds us that there's different elements of Eminem within his own brand. He's
mhm.
got different elements as well. You know, Slim Shady was this raucous,
Mm. The
controversial,
rule breaker, yeah.
the rule breaker,
Yeah.
killing off his wife, and you know, and self-destructive.
Mm,
And Marshall Mathers isn't necessarily. And
mhm,
you know, I never really took it on board until this album came out, and I was like, ah, clever guy, clever guy.
mm.
But also on an equally important, but possibly not so dramatic, depending on the way you look at things. Taylor Swift, she's a very, not my type of music, very clever woman, right? Now, for a time, she was hailed as a right-wing pin-up girl.
Mm.
She was, you know, because of the way she looks, and you know, she's very
The
sweet, very
all-American
pretty,
princess
all
type of
American.
thing, that
That's
image, right?
exactly,
Yeah.
that's the image.
Mm.
Now, she worked very hard to distance herself from the right wing. Well, I don't want to say right wing because it's different in America than it is
Yeah,
here
it's, yeah,
in the
yeah.
UK, but
Mm.
specifically the Klan and those type of extremist right wing
Yeah,
groups that were
yeah.
holding her up, and that could have really damaged her brand. And
Big
she did a
time.
lot, and she understood how important it was, because someone might just say one time,
Mhm.
oh no, I'm not part of that, but she was like, no, I'm not a part of that. And you know, and all power to her, because it could have gone either way for her. So very important. Hopefully it doesn't work that way for many people, because that can be very damaging and quite
Yeah,
scary as well.
it
But
is.
it's just an example of how, you know, getting it right is so important. So what can happen if an artist ignores their branding, or gets it wrong?
Mm. Well, yeah, you start meeting well, you start meeting resistance. And when I'm talking about resistance, I'm talking about the idea of, oh, that's not sitting right with me for whatever reason. You know, that sometimes that gut feeling, or there's a little bit of something's uneasy about this, but I don't know what that is. That's the resistance I'm talking about. And that all stems from the idea of your values. And I know you're probably thinking, what the hell has values got to do with anything to do with singing, music, music writing, songwriting, or anything like that in general, right? But values, your personal values, what you hold dear to you, and the things that make you you essentially are the key things that will help you to understand the direction that you need to be going in. And again, the people that you need to be speaking to or singing to or performing to, showing up in certain spaces. You don't have to be in all spaces. Can I just please stress that to you? It's not about showing up in any and every old space. No, it's showing up in spaces that are key to what it is that you stand for. That's how you yourself start showing up as you without losing yourself in the process. And equally, that's how you yourself start showing up as you in a way that's congruent to what you stand for, you know?
And it's not just about when you're writing music as well, and when you're performing, it's in the industry, you know, to be able to, it's come a long way, but
Mm,
for an artist to be able to stand up for who they are
mm,
and what they value is scary, and isn't always what everyone wants to do. You know, if you've got certain political or social views, it can be difficult to stand up for those, you know,
mm.
whichever side you're on. You know, well, I don't have to agree with everyone's political views or social views,
Yeah.
and that's okay. But when you're in the industry, and it's not just about that as well, you know, if you're with a label and the label wants you to do something that doesn't stand with your values, to say no to that can be
Mm.
very difficult. But
Oh
it's
my gosh. Yeah.
very important that you do. And
Mm.
some people may think, um well, I'll just get where I want to be, and then I'll stand up for myself. It doesn't work like that. You've got to People see through it. You've got to
Yes.
do it from day one, especially now with social media. Wasn't
Oh,
so bad back in, you know, before we had social media, back
mm.
in the 90s and before that. But
Yeah.
but now you have to know who
Yeah.
you are, what you stand for, and stand by it. You don't
Yeah.
have to blow the trumpet every single time you put something out, or every time you're in an interview, or or every time you're in a meeting, but you do have to reiterate it
Yeah.
kind of repetitively.
Yeah, and exactly that, repetitively, and I'm going to come on to the idea of repetition, especially in a minute, but the idea of knowing what space you're in right now is very key. And I get it. Sometimes that can also be very confusing, but that's why you got to tap into your values to understand that, right? And when you were talking just now, Carrie, what came to mind for me was, so for me, I love hip hop, right? And one of my favorite artists is actually Common, despite his actual personal life. We're not going to talk about that. Common, you need to fix up. Anyway, that's a whole other thing. Um,
You see this, woman?
yes. But the reason why I'm bringing him up is because have you ever heard of NPR music? You know when they do
Yeah,
their tiny desk sessions, right?
yes,
I
yes,
love
yes.
watching
Very,
those.
very, yeah,
I
yeah.
love, regardless of what genre of music it is, I love watching those. And he actually took his one of his particular sessions to the White House. Now, this was during the time of when Obama was president. So when Obama became president, that meant a hell of a lot to so very many people, not just Black community, but to a lot of people of color, to a lot of people in general, right? And Common, if you know him as an artist, he's all about making sure that his word that comes out of his mouth is literally all about talking about politics, but in a different kind of a way in terms of society. It's talking about social issues, it's talking about all these aspects. He wanted to make sure that he was able to have this particular NPR session in the White House because of how poignant of a time it was. And how great of a fit is that, right? So you imagine, you know what your message is, you know what you're talking about, you know what your core is, you know what your VPV is, right? You understand your
Remind us what
brand so
VPV
much.
is.
Hmm?
Tell us what VPV is.
Yeah, it's your vision, your values, and your purpose. So you know that so much so that you know that, right, okay, I know who's in office right now, and I'd love to reach out to him, and I want to be a part of this whole movement, this whole time, this whole era. Because not only is it going to be a movement, it's going to be something that's going to be growing and doing what it needs to. And you as a musician, you're a person of influence. That means that you've got a voice that people are listening to, right? So when you're in those spaces, use your voice to be able to get into other spaces that will help to leverage what it is that you've got to show and offer, right? So I'm not saying you got to be like Common and go to the White House. Don't I'm not
I
saying
would.
that. Do you know, if the opportunity comes, go for it and then tell a few people about themselves. Do you know what I mean? But at the same time, do it in a way that is always going to be respectful to the craft that you're creating, right? So you can always have your voice, but be respectful to the craft that you're creating.
Yeah.
And
Or if your brand isn't respectful,
yeah,
then that too,
that
it's got to
too.
be congruent to who you are.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Be congruent to who you are because it is so important to be able to do that. Because like Carrie shared earlier, it's going to be super obvious to the outsider when you're not being you. Because
Yeah.
you're naturally going to be doing this. You're going to be fake smiling, thumbs up all the time, and people are going to see straight through that.
100%. Yeah.
Mm.
Especially at these times. Yeah, I
Yeah.
love that. Thank you so much.
Sure.
Um, so what's the most important things to remember? I think we've touched on it, but the most important thing to remember when it comes to branding and what people tend to get wrong. So we've touched on, not being yourself and
Yeah.
knowing what your vision is and your values.
Mm.
But what would you say is the most important?
Yeah, it is just understanding those aspects, but taking the time to understand them.
Yeah.
You're not going to get it overnight. Maybe you will. That's okay. That's absolutely brilliant if you do. But you got to give and be patient with it. That's the other thing. A lot of people, we're so impatient in this
Yeah.
whole society, this era, depending on when you're
Yeah.
watching this video, you can be really impatient with the
The
result.
overnight success takes on average 12 years.
Yeah, that part. And onto that point as well, like those who you seeing getting viral videos, those who you're seeing who are like getting 1,000 or 10,000 in one night, no, you don't know what they did in the background before that point. You
Yeah,
know, you don't know what they were building in the background before that point. So know that, yeah, you gotta be patient with the results, right? And the results will come even off the back of you tackling your brand power of three, which is your vision, your values, and your purpose. Because, yeah, you gotta give it the time that it deserves to grow,
yeah.
essentially.
Could you give us, we touched on a couple, so I mentioned Eminem and I mentioned the Spice Girls. Could you give us a couple, and you've mentioned Common, a
Yeah.
couple of other examples of people who have musicians who have a very strong brand for whatever,
Oh, yes, I can. And I know we've kind of like
and
there's two in
and
particular.
why the branding works, sorry.
Yes, absolutely. There's two in particular. So I'm going to give you different genres of music, as well as obviously the people. And again, I'm going to lead off with hip hop because I love it. And there's an artist called Jadena. Now, Jadena is he's a guy who, again, similar to Common in the sense where he's very thought-provoking with the words that are coming out of his mouth. He's always got a message to share. He's not a hip hop artist that will be out on the streets wearing baggy clothes, the hip hop uniform. Again, I'm doing this. I'm sorry.
I won't do that. Let's not
I'm
do
doing
that.
the
Yeah.
inverted comma in the air situation. He's not got that typical hip hop look, right?
Yeah, not that street look.
Not that street look. And I love his style because he is literally three-piece suited up, polished shoes, old school style. He's got his hair like in like proper old school Afro waves, right? And looking smart to the T. Good looking guy too. But however,
Helps.
he's rocking it and he's holding his brand which is true to him, right? And his brand actually has a lot of meaning because it comes from the idea of, do you know what? As a hip hop artist, I don't have to have that look, but I can be taken as seriously. And let me show you why I should be taken seriously. Yes, I'm going to rock up in a three-piece suit. And yes, I'm going to still deliver one hell of a banging tune. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah.
So he's one. But then you've got a flip side, which is a lady called Rhapsody. She's another hip hop artist. She doesn't have the typical sort of like glamorized hip hop look, if you like, or rapper look, but
But
she's still holding
sorry,
true
hold
to
that
her.
thought. But to go back to the beginnings of hip
Yeah.
hop, when women started to be taken more seriously in hip
Yes.
hop, they weren't glamorous.
No, they
You know,
weren't.
Queen Latifah is like she's a queen. She
Hello.
was, but at the beginning, she wasn't so glamorous. Moni Love, MC
Yes.
Light,
Yeah.
they weren't
Yeah.
glamorous ladies.
No.
It kind of came through and it became a thing. So back to your point.
Yeah. No, see, yeah, so she's holding that old school, styling true to form, right? And she's making it all about her words. She's making it all about the art, which is what it should be, right? It shouldn't be like how I look. It shouldn't be about what you think I should look like. No, she's holding true to that. And she calls a lot of people out who come with the misogyny, all that kind of stuff, all the yeah, we
Yeah,
could
man.
keep going.
Yeah.
You know, she
That's
she
another video that we should
that's a
definitely
whole
do.
nother video for another topic for another time.
Yeah, yeah.
But and I love it because I love her styling because she stays true to that, you
Yeah.
know. For now, let's flip over to like pop. Would you call her pop? It's Madonna. Madonna,
Yeah, yeah, yeah,
yeah,
yeah.
Queen of Pop,
One,
right?
yeah, yeah.
So Madonna has so many different images that she's come up with throughout the years, but they've spoken to so many different people. But if you think about it, her message has actually stayed completely consistent. Just the look of it's switched
Yes.
up, right?
Yeah.
Her message has always been about speak true to what it is that you do and why it is that you do it, and equally get your voice out there in whatever
Yeah.
way form you can. And I'm going to speak to this person, I'm going to speak to that person, I'm going to speak to over here as well. So she's done that by way of gothic music. She's done that by way of like "Don't Cry for Me,"
Oh,
Argentina.
when she plays Eva Perez, yes. Yeah.
Yes, yeah, right. And she's done that in so many different ways. But she's always kept that message strong. And this is why I always say again, what is your message? Because
Yeah.
the minute you know that, you know how to deliver it.
So to the flip side to Rhapsody is that Madonna has always very, very carefully
Mm,
used her looks to either promote herself, to also promote female empowerment, because she
yes,
does it in such a way that it is empowering, right? I was
yes,
when I was a kid, my mum was mortified that I liked Madonna. She was, oh no, don't, you can't dress like, I wanted the lacy gloves,
Yeah.
and that's when I started wearing red lipstick at the age of 8. My mum was like, oh no, please, no,
Mini
take
heart
that
attack. Oh
off.
my gosh. Clutch my pearls.
Wait till you're 18. No. But you're right, all through her all through her career, she's had that very same strength of character and
Yeah.
strength of branding, and has always known exactly
Mm.
how to, or maybe she hasn't always known. She comes across as always having known exactly how to, and that's the thing, is figuring it out. We make mistakes, and it's okay to make mistakes behind the scenes or in front of the camera. That's also fine, as long as as long as you're admitting to them, and fixing them in a way that is, again, congruent to you, and how you feel.
Mm.
But at a time, even through the 90s, at a time when we were talking about covering up and female empowerment being not just about being sexy, but was, she was there like, no, I'm going to wear pointy bras,
I was just
pointy
about to
gold
say the comb
bras.
bras.
Yeah,
Hey,
over a
she went for
suit.
her erotica stage, right? She went through so many
Yeah,
different elements of the eras that she was changing through, and we changed with her, you know,
we did.
and it was just cool watching it. It was cool
Yeah,
watching it. But yeah, I think it's understanding. Okay, yeah, if you're trying to be like Madonna, what is your message? And actually, I would say, don't be like Madonna. Be you.
yeah. I mean, follow role models.
Yes.
Absolutely,
Yeah.
model successful people
Yes.
in your own way, and you'll
Yeah.
figure it out. You'll figure it out. Cool. Thank you so much. So could you give 3 tips for people out there who are just either just getting started as musicians and
Yeah.
singers, as our musicians, getting started, or for people who are just starting to think about their branding, or who are not sure about how their branding is working for them? Just like 3 tips that they could probably implement in the next week or so.
Yeah, absolutely. First and foremost, get your brand power and 3 in action. Your vision, your values, and your purpose. Figure out what your values are by way of, do you know what puts a natural smile on your face? What is that? Is it family? Is it freedom? And when I talk about freedom, I'm talking about freedom of time, right? Doing the things that you really want to do. Is it traveling? Is it like charity? It could be, is it helping others? Is it just being in a space amongst others that really, really warm your heart? Is it your heart? Is it love? Giving versus receiving. I do different things, by the way, just to, tap into that. And then equally the vision of what it is that you're doing. What is the vision in the sense where do you see things going? And you can do a thing as far as 10 years if you want to, but I would say just do 6 months for now and then build on that. Build and build and build. And that's what you're doing. You've got to build on it. Don't think that you can conquer the world in one day. It does not happen. As the saying goes, Rome wasn't built in a day and all that, that stuff, but it really wasn't. So why are you trying to do it? Take your time with it. And then obviously your purpose. The purpose, I'm not talking about like, why are you here on this earth? What is your purpose in life? No, I'm not talking about that. I'm talking about the idea of what is the real reason why you're doing what you're doing. Why are you a singer? Why are you a songwriter? Why are you coming up with lyrics the way you're coming up with lyrics? Why are you creating music or putting notes together like that? What is that? Why are you doing it? Are you doing it because, do you know what? You're trying to make sure that the younger you knows that their future is actually going to be an absolutely smashing one? Are you trying to do it to help somebody else to know that there is a way forward out of the mess that they're in? Or are you trying to do it just to uplift somebody's spirits? But why are you uplifting their spirits? Why them in particular? And that somebody, pay attention to who that somebody is, because that's who you're really, really targeting. Are they that little old lady that just wants to just rock in a rocking chair? It's a very cliche term, but rock in the rocking chair, sing
I'm a
cozily
rocking
in front
chair
of the
right now.
fireplace. Or is it that
Rocking in my
person
rocking
who's,
chair.
is it that
Yeah,
person who just loves being in their own space, but just literally just wants to just zone out for a minute or two?
yeah.
What is that piece that you're giving them?
And I struggled, as you know, Tan, I
Yeah.
struggled with this for such a long time.
Yeah.
And, you know, it became my until for a while,
Yes.
which I think, you know, some people around me took on board, and I think you were one of those people as well.
Yeah.
But actually, I just do what I do because I really love doing it. If I
Hmm.
think about why do I love singing, I absolutely cannot think of anything I enjoy more than singing. I
Mm.
love it. And I love teaching. I used to say I love teaching as much as I love singing, but I was in a bit of a situation at that time. I loved teaching almost. It's a
Mm.
very, 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 very close
Very
second,
close. Yeah.
almost as much as I love singing. And is it because I want to help people? Yes, we become teachers because we want to help people. But
Mm.
actually, I'm selfish. It's because I just love doing it. And if that's you, that's okay as well. Because by doing what you love, you are going to make other people happy. You are going to give other people a brighter day. You are going to inspire other people.
You're making a difference. And to
Yeah,
me, that's not selfish at all.
yeah.
It's not selfish at all. I mean, we unfortunately we know people who can be selfish.
Oh yeah,
However,
we do.
again, a whole nother video for another time.
Another
But
time.
but to me that's not being selfish. You know, you're still giving somebody so much, so much. You know, that's better than what their day was initially, you know? But yeah, I think pay attention to those things that you're feeling because for everybody else out there as well, if you're feeling just because I love doing it, amazing. Right now, go just that little bit. Why do you love doing it? Be that annoying little child in
Yeah.
your
Keep
mind.
asking why.
Yeah, keep asking why, and before you know it, you'll find the answer. And just as one last thing I want to add in there is don't put so much pressure on yourself.
Yeah.
Go easy. So give yourself some grace, allow yourself time to breathe, give it the space that it needs, and just take the pressure off. And then watch what you start having fun with it.
Yeah, and you know,
What?
as our mentor says, 7 out of 10 is the new perfect.
Yeah.
If you're feeling like you have to get something perfect before you put it out to the world,
Mm,
just get it out. You're going to make
just get it
someone's
out.
day.
Mm,
Your voice,
mm.
your message, your music is going to make someone's day, and you never know, you might become their favorite artist.
Ah, absolutely. Kara, can I ask you a question?
Yeah, yeah.
Just got one question. What do you think you've learned from branding yourself?
Oh, yeah, I've learned it's about being congruent with who you are. It's
Mm,
about aligning with who you are. You know, to go back to a project that we worked on together,
yeah.
as business coaches, helping other women with their businesses.
Mm.
And I thought, I came into the business space. I didn't know a thing about business, and I was like, well, I'm a business woman now. I have to wear skirt. I went and bought skirts and shoes. I went to Next and
Did
bought.
you?
Yes, I went.
Sorry.
There are.
If anybody, if you know Carrie, you know why I'm laughing.
I'm wearing an Oi t-shirt, Running Riot. Go check them out; they're amazing. I'm wearing slashed leggings. I normally wear Dr.
Yeah,
Martens. You can
yeah,
see, you can see my
yeah.
hair. If you have watched any of my other videos, you know I pretty much always wear a Vans t-shirt in my videos. When I came into the business space,
Mm,
I thought I had to go and start wearing skirts, suits with shoes, and so me and Tam were putting on an event with our co-founders, with 4 other women at that time, as it was,
mm,
and I was like, oh, I just don't know. I don't even know what to wear. I was in a mess about what to wear because
yeah.
I didn't want to be fake. I
Yes,
wanted
yes.
to be real. And so they just said to me, Tan and the others just said to me, what would you love to wear? And I was like, I want to wear a snakeskin suit with my red Dr. Martens. And that's what I did. And then the following year, I didn't even bother with any type of suit. I just wore like they were from EMP. There are other brands,
Grand.
but anyone who knows EMP, you know what I mean. I bought some trousers from EMP with like buckles all down the sides. I borrowed my daughter's white Dr. Martens, and I had a Buzzcocks t-shirt on,
Hmm.
and that's what I wore.
Hmm.
the side of my head was shaved. My hair was bright red. I have a bright red lipstick, as I always do, pretty much always do. But that, yes, to the long way of answering your question, that's what I now understand branding to be. But it took me a long time. So it would have probably been 4 years of being around you and still
The
getting it
effect I
wrong.
have people. And then also, like, I just remember seeing you. I remember that event was brilliant, right? And
Was, yeah.
we all looked at you, we were like, whoa, who's that on stage? Because you just came out as Carrie finally.
Yeah,
And we
yeah,
were like,
yeah.
okay, okay, cool.
Yeah, we'd known each other for a while. We're going on a tangent, but it is
Mm,
relevant. We'd known
yeah.
each other for a few years, but
Mm,
none of them had ever seen me on stage. And
no. Mm,
actually, on stage is where I feel most comfortable, which is
mm,
strange. Not for most, even a lot of entertainers
yeah.
don't feel comfortable on stage, but actually, when I'm on stage, that's where I feel like I'm actually myself. So,
Mm,
yeah.
I love that. I love that. Thank you for sharing that.
Right. So, before we go, any last tips or thoughts?
No, as I said, make sure you're taking the pressure off yourself. Make sure you tackle your VPV, your vision, your values, and your purpose. And equally, again, I'm going to throw this part in, just be patient with the whole thing. And always remember this as a little bonus. The message that you're sharing, the values that you're putting out there, the music that you're sharing with others, right? Be consistent with it in terms of like always put it out there, because and if you're writing these things down as we're talking, right, write this down in particular. Repetition equals reputation. So when you're constantly putting that message out there, 9 times out of 10 people are always going to be remembering that message, and anytime they hear a key word from that message out and about, they're automatically going to be thinking of you. Carrie's red hair, right? Anytime somebody sees something red, oh yeah, Carrie, I remember Carrie was talking. It's crazy how the way the brain works. But you're using these things to create subliminal messages almost to help others to constantly remember who you are. Sometimes I will always, a lot of my brand color, my primary brand color is actually yellow. It's a warm sunshine yellow. And not only I don't always wear the color, however, I will use it in any time I'm using my socials or presentations or anything like that. But my message that I'm always going to be putting out to you guys is the idea of you are more than what you see, and also know that representation matters. So make sure that you're showing up as you in a way that's congruent to you and your beliefs. So yeah.
Fantastic way to end. Thank you so much, Tanya, for joining me and for sharing your amazing wealth of knowledge and
Thank you.
experience with the people on my channel. And also, this is going to be going on your channel as well, right?
It's
So
going on
where
my
can we
channel as well.
find you?
Yeah, so you can pretty much find me at Tanya Grant Official on Instagram, as well as Facebook as well. I'm also on LinkedIn, Tanya Grant, the brand specialist. You will find me on there. And obviously on YouTube, the TNG Designs Group Limited is my channel. So, follow me, like and subscribe to any of my videos as well. But you're equally going to get a whole bunch of education, all to do with the idea of branding and what it is not, how you can do it specifically, who you can tap into to be able to get it done. But equally, I'm going to share with you on there constantly amazing principles that will let you to just start elevating with your brand. So that means getting yourself out there, showing up as you without losing yourself in the process. So yeah.
I think you have a freebie that I can in the description, right, or in the pinned comment.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
So those 6 principles pretty much is what I'm talking about, and I'll give the link to Carrie, so that she can share it in the comment section. So make sure you go ahead and click on the link that will be there, and yeah, get involved with it. Get stuck into it. There's some amazing things that I offer on that particular load of principles. So make sure you hit me up on my offers, because I don't always offer them, but I want to make sure as many people as possible not only understand branding, more importantly, they also understand my message that I keep sharing with you guys. You are more than what you see. So get yourself out there, show up as you, and it's okay to be you. So yeah.
Thank you so much. I would love to continue, but time
Yeah.
is of the essence. Thank you again. I actually can't thank you enough, Tanya Grant.
Oh,
I will see you in the
thank
next
you,
video.
Carrie.
Stay hydrated.
Bye, guys.
Ciao.